Hey girl, are your healthy habits all over the place or non-existent? Do you wish you could find true food freedom, move your body for joy, and really just talk a little nicer to yourself? If you have tried to habit hack your health, but the strategies you've tried just haven't worked for you in your busy lifestyle, then this podcast is for you. Hey, I'm Emily Nichols, habit and fitness coach, behavior change specialist, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I am here to tell you there is an easier way than what we've been taught about our health and our habits. How do I know? Well, because I've transformed my own life through habit hacking, and now my family gets the best of me, and I now help my clients do the same. I'm now going to teach you how to create healthy habits in less time, guilt-free for all seasons of your life. It's not your fault your habits haven't worked, my friend. We just have to do them differently. So, are you ready to feel empowered and transform your habits and life? Then let's do this. You're listening to episode 206 of Self-Transformed. Hey friend, welcome back to the show. Man, summer break is in full force here at my home. I hope you are having a great summer so far. Maybe you're needing to pivot your habits and know that that is okay. And doing something super tiny for yourself, depending on what your capacity is day by day, is better than nothing. Okay, just a little quick pep talk for you. It's on my heart. It's on my heart because I know my habits are shifting as my boys are home this summer, and that is okay. Hey, I wanted to give just a big moment of gratitude, a big thank you all so much for your support. And I just love this community of habit hackers so much. So I shared on our previous episode, it was just a quick, small little episode, that I have been selected as a finalist to become a HOTWORX virtual instructor. HOTWORX is a 24/7 infrared sauna workout. There's isometric movements, there's HIIT workouts, and the instructors are on the TV as like a video, a virtual instructor, and I'm going through the audition process. I've been a group fitness instructor since 2016, as I shared in the previous episode, and I knew from my first session over a year ago that I would be auditioning, and here I am. So I won't be talking about this all month, I promise, but I need your votes. If you feel inclined to vote for me to get to the next round, so that would be top 15 and in-person auditions, you can go vote for me at bit.ly/HOTWORXEmily. That's HOTWORX with an X, okay? HOTWORX. Then Emily, EMILY. Now it is $1 a vote as the competition is incorporating a fundraiser for a nonprofit called Sacred Mountain Retreat, where military and first responder families go to find respite and healing together, which I just love. We're doing this aspect. So even if you don't go vote, that's okay. Go check out HOTWORX. There's locations all over the place. To go give it a try. Listen to my brief episode before this to hear my journey and why I love HOTWORX so much. It's a big part of my own functional fitness routine, and I hope to be on the screen over the next year as one of the new virtual instructors. So thank you so much. So speaking of our awesome community of habit hackers, today we are chatting about making connections, making friends, and how that is such a fundamental need that sometimes just really gets pushed to the side, but we so intrinsically crave connection. Okay, so there's actually a lack of connection happening right now sometimes, right? We get so busy and caught up in our own lives, and we find ourselves like, gosh, I need like my hype group, my group of ladies around me to do life with. There's statistics showing that lack of connection is almost as bad for your health as smoking packs a cigarette and over-consuming all alcohol. And there's another statistic that 75% plus of women are craving connection. So we're open to connection. We need it. We intrinsically want it, but it's really hard to do. So when we think of connection, it's actually one of our fundamental needs, right? You know, when I talk about fundamental needs, I go back to the hierarchy of needs, right? You see that pyramid. At the base of the pyramid are just your basic needs. Now, I teach inside of all my accelerators, since we're coming from a healthy habit aspect of movement, mindset, and food freedom. And connection would definitely fall under that mindset realm, because it is something we just so need. But our base of support, if we're lacking in one of those areas, it can crumble. Right? It can crumble as we're moving up those hierarchy of needs. So why is connection so awkward, right? Making new connections, you're like, gosh, I feel like such a dork. Like, this is so weird. You get in your head and think, are they going to think I'm a weirdo? Are they going to like me? I do this a lot. Like when my boys are making new friends, I'm like, oh, I hope their mom is cool and I like them. Years ago, and I shared this a little bit more in our interview today, I intentionally sought out new friendships. I went through my own healthy transformation with my habits, and the friends that I had, they were still my friends, but we didn't have a lot in common. We weren't doing a lot of the same things, and my husband and I were doing Spartan races at the time, and I was like, oh, I guess I should really just try running more. And you've heard me say this so many times on the show, I don't even like running. So I joined a running group. Because these ladies were meeting super early, so it worked convenient-wise for my schedule. And what I loved the most about it is there was all different paces, and the most beautiful thing is there was Starbucks afterwards. There was coffee, sitting down and having that connection. I mean, we would talk as much as we could during the run. We would have goals we set together. We would have real life conversations, lifting each other up. During my early days running, my mom went through a year of breast cancer treatments, and they all showed up and wore pink one day for my mama one day. I mean, it's such a beautiful community. It's some of my best friends, right? But it was awkward at first. I'm like, I have to put myself out here. This feels so weird. I hope they like me. And luckily, I really went into it with okay, they probably have some of the same beliefs and hobbies that I do, so I might make this a little easier on myself. I find myself now in this season of life where I have these best of friends, but how do I foster these relationships and continue them as seasons of our lives change, as priorities change? Sometimes you have to make it a habit to intentionally connect with your friends as well. So there's the aspect of making friends, and there's the aspect of creating habits to foster those relationships. So I have just the person to help us out. Today we're chatting with Emily Siegel of the Connected Mom Life. Emily is a friendship mentor and coach, podcast host, working mom of 2 adorable little boys, and a lover of all things Broadway musicals. As the leader of the Connected Mom Life community, she helps busy moms create the circle of friends that they crave, right? We crave connection, because she firmly believes we weren't made to mom alone, and she's on a mission to see that we stop trying. I love it. I think this is such a super important fundamental need. Remember, this falls under mindset for sure. And you're going to love the simple tips Emily provides. Okay. So as always, make sure to stick around to the end of the episode for my 3 biggest takeaways. Open your heart, get ready to make connections and friendships, and enjoy this conversation with Emily and me. All right, gang. Thank you so much again for tuning in to Self Transformed. I am so excited for this conversation today with Emily Siegel of the Connected Mom Life. Emily, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited for this conversation because I think it's something really important that we don't focus on as much as we should. But Emily, the first question I ask every guest is, what comes to mind when you hear the phrase self-transformed?
I definitely hear personal growth, like someone who's always learning and growing and shifting a bit. I think, it can be easy to hear self-transformed and think final. But that just doesn't hold up anymore in my 40 years of experience. So
True. Yeah. I'm 41, and I feel like there's been so many evolutions and transformations of me as a person, as a mom, as a businesswoman, and that's okay, right?
Yeah. It's actually right. It's the goal.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. Well, let's get to know you a little bit better, Emily. Can you tell us a little bit about your story, what you do, who you are, and really just the journey that led you to all the things?
Yeah. Yeah. So today I help moms make friends. I care a lot about community building. I'm a huge champion for making friends while we have like kids under our roofs versus waiting for when they're gone and we feel like we have more time. So I think for me, it kind of all stemmed from, I moved around not a ton. I wasn't like a military kiddo or anything, but enough growing up and made friends really easily, at school. And ultimately, I think that gave me a lot of confidence to decide to go to college 2,000 miles away where I knew no one, go off on my own. And again, great experience, made the best of friends. And I think it's ultimately what made it an easy-ish yes when my husband, we had just gotten married, and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about moving halfway across the country for this job? We don't know anyone. What do you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Adventure, moved a ton, made friends. Like this will be great." And yeah, there were a lot of great things about it, but friends were not one of them, at least not at first. Friendship was really hard. As a newly married person who was living in a city where she knew no one, apparently school was super helpful when it came to all those other times. I felt like I'd easily made friends. And so I think a lot about like kind of the story we're all told about friendship and growing up. And it's like, I don't know, it just like seems, it just happens. And then when it wasn't happening for me, I started to just really doubt a lot about myself and like how, like, did I really have actual friends before? Was I just like kidding myself? Like, kind of all those stories start to creep in and really shook my confidence. And so, ultimately led me on a journey of figuring out friendship in adulthood and realizing, oh no, that's actually normal. Just no one talks about that, like this whole friendship and adulthood journey and what that looks like and how that differs from growing up. And so that's a really long way of sharing. That's kind of my story of how I got into this. Like once I figured out, like, oh, this doesn't have to be so hard. I'm like, I got to tell everybody about this because we are all out here thinking this feels so hard and weird, but it doesn't necessarily have to stay that way. So, yeah.
I love that so much. Well, I feel like friendship and community is so important and something we crave, especially as moms too, once you venture into motherhood. And I feel like friendships change, and that could be a whole conversation in itself too. But why do you feel like women crave this connection so much? I mean, we're such nurturing people and we got our kids, our spouse, all these other people, but we need that outside connection from them. Why is that so important to us?
Yeah. I mean, even like we crave it. I think it's like instinctual. Like we crave connection. It's really interesting, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We always think like food, water. And it's really interesting. The research is now showing us actually connection is what needs to be at the base of that needs pyramid. Like as humans, we just crave it so much. It's continues actually to be proven by research, even showing that like a lack of connection and loneliness today is like it is the equivalent of drinking or of smoking packs of cigarettes a day, consuming large amounts of alcohol daily. Like that is the equivalent of the damage loneliness can do to our health. And so I think instinctually we're just craving it. And then especially in motherhood, that journey, I mean, you mentioned it before, just like these shifting identities that start to happen. There's so much that happens to us as women, particularly when we get thrown into motherhood and not having other people along for the ride can make us feel very lonely and a little crazy. And so that is really, I think, why we crave it so much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I feel like you go through different seasons of life and have different type of friends in your life for different seasons. You know, I had my set group of like friends from childhood and school.
Mhm.
And then when I got married and started having kids, like I was making new friends kind of in a roundabout way through daycare. And as my kids got older and they went to school, and then even as I started my own health journey, like my friendships changed in regards to that because I was in different communities and I was seeking out, I intentionally like sought out women with like-minded interests. Like I joined a running group and I don't even like running. I just wanted to meet
Mhm.
people with like-minded interests. And I think sometimes though, in that way though, too, at the same time, I was like, well, why aren't I as good friends with so-and-so from this season of my life? And then you almost kind of feel bad, or you're like, am I not being a good friend, or did I do something wrong? But I think that's just kind of part of, friendships. They're in different seasons of your life and they kind of come and go, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's honestly one of my most downloaded episodes is how to navigate shifting friendships,
Mm.
because it is something we don't talk about a ton. Like so much of our life, we're seeking out like a partner to do life with, a spouse, and, maybe we find that person. And that's obviously a person that like you're in it to win it now for life. And with friendship, we seek out friends and sometimes we think, okay, well, I've found them, so I'm set, right? But then something shifts, whether that is one of us moves, literally there's a physical shift, or whether it's one of us has kids, the other doesn't. And it's not that these friendships can't continue, but they start to look different as our life seasons shift too. And like kind of those unspoken rules of how we interact and how often, all of that just starts to potentially shift based on circumstances. And that can feel really hurtful to one person potentially. And then that can cause, shifts in the dynamics. And so I think being really mindful of like, it actually is really normal for relationships to ebb and flow. But again, we don't talk about that a lot. We just talk about like you make friends and then you keep them. We don't talk as much about the fact that like most of us actually rotate out a good chunk of our friendships every 7 years, is what research will show. And so that's technically all happening to us, but sometimes we're thinking like, oh, that's weird and not normal, when in fact it is. And knowing that it is can make it a lot more helpful to like navigate those shifts well and in ways that don't necessarily cause pain or harm or hurt, to the other people, and just that it's more like, okay, this is natural. And maybe we could even talk about that shift and like how we're feeling about that shift. I think it just can open up kind of some of those conversations and ultimately, I don't know, help everyone feel a lot more at peace with what's happening.
Yeah, it's not like it's a big breakup. Like you're like, I'm
Yeah.
breaking up with you. We're not friends
Mhm.
anymore. I think a lot of times for the friends that have kind of come and gone in my life, we're still friends. It wasn't like a big falling out. It's just over time you kind of like mindfully look back and you're like, oh, well, I can kind of see how we drifted apart. And maybe that is hurtful and it's a conversation to have, but also like you said, it's natural. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
just natural, especially when the kids
Yeah.
get older too. And I feel like I'm a constant Uber driver for my kids all the
Yep.
time, and everything's invested in them right now. And I feel like I'm going into a new shift right now. So that makes sense about every 7 years, friendship
Yes.
shifting for sure.
Yeah,
I can
for
see
sure.
that. Well, like I said, I have probably about 5 years ago intentionally set out to go make new friends. And I've made some of the best friends I've ever had over the past 5 years and just doing life with each other. But like you mentioned earlier, it can be really like weird and awkward, and to be like,
Mhm.
hi, will you be my friend? And, or sometimes maybe you try to seek out friendships with your kids and their friends, and you're like, oh, I hope I like their mom. A lot of this
Mhm.
kid's mom, too. How can we make life or friends in real life without it being so awkward?
Yeah, for sure. I talk to moms about this all the time. I think one of the best things to do when you're like, gosh, friendship, just like I know I want some more friends, or I know I want to like invest in some of these acquaintances that I have and maybe get to know them better, progress things. And you're getting those feelings of this feels hard or awkward, is to kind of name what about it for you feels hard, what about it for you feels awkward. Because for some of us, it's the fear of rejection. Maybe we've had some tough, moments in the past when we've tried to make friends. I joke, but like middle school did a number on a lot of us around friendship and what feels safe and not safe. And so just getting a better sense of like what feels hard. Is it just like, does the whole thing just feel overwhelming? There's no time. Is it literally what to say? So many moms will tell me, I'm just so awkward. And so I think kind of like figuring out what is the thing that feels most hard for you can kind of give you the next step to figure out like, okay, what's going to make the most sense for me to spend some energy on. I always like to tell moms, like, the first thing to just know when pursuing, like in saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put myself out there. The best thing to know is that research is on your side. Literally like 75% plus of women are craving more connection in their life. And so we are all actually more open to connection than we think. Like it's easy for us to scroll Instagram and look at other moms like in clusters at like, different kid events and think, oh, she's set on friends. It's just me that like is craving something more. And the reality is like, no, there's actually, most of us are out there very much with an open chair, in our friendship circle. And so just knowing that, I think, can relieve a lot of anxiety of like, okay, maybe you don't go up and say the exact words, I'm looking for friends, but it is okay to say like, yeah, I'm, new to the area, or like, or even, yeah, I've been wanting to get to know more of the moms of my kids' friends. I will tell you, Emily, we just moved back home to Minnesota after living away for the last 14 years. And I'm in a whole new school system. I went to like a PTA meeting because I'm like, okay, I want to meet other parents. I wish I could tell you it was because I really wanted to support the school. I'm sure like, yes, great. Happy to do it. But like legitimately, I was there because I wanted to meet the other moms. And I was so proud of how the PTA meeting even just like conducted the conversation. And they like invited us all to go around in a circle and say who we are and our kids and why they were interested in joining the PTA or being there. And literally everyone said, I want to know the parent. Like, I want to meet other parents. Everyone was like so forward about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of us. We're all just saying part of why we are here is connection. And so I just love, like, it's so helpful when you get to actually see that in action. You're like, okay, it's not just me. I'm not crazy. But yeah, everybody's way more open than we think. And just even knowing that and hopefully starting to put yourself in spaces where you can experience it can make kind of like okay, now what do we say? Now, how do I text and follow up all the things?
Okay, friends. Let's be real here for a second, okay? There are so many energy drinks out there that are only focused on giving you the jitters before a workout. And I don't know about you, but I hate that feeling. Well, not FitAid Energy. FitAid is boosted with 200 milligrams of clean caffeine from green tea, never the synthetic kind, so you never get that jittery feeling. And plus, it's only 15 calories per can. What I love is that they're not claiming that their energy drink will help you to burn fat or make empty promises. You put in the hard work and FitAid will help energize and refuel so you can do it again tomorrow. And unlike many other energy drinks, FitAid Energy maximizes your athletic performance by focusing on both training and recovery, which I am all for as a trainer myself. So go grab one of the amazing FitAid Energy flavors and you can save 40% off plus free shipping on your first order of 24 cans of FitAid Energy. Just go to drinkfitaid.com/habithack. All right, friends, let's get back to the show. Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone feels awkward, but I love that. Like you said, more and more folks are creating or craving connection. And that's just proof that they're like, hey, I just want to meet other parents. And And a lot of times you're going through the trenches together. Like I mentioned earlier, I know when I became a mom, it was nice to talk to other moms to be like, oh my gosh, like, and why is this so hard? And like, why are they not sleeping? Or even now as a mom of a preteen and a teenager, it's like, whoa, this is a whole new ball game right
Yeah.
here now
Yeah.
too. And to be able to talk to other moms and then relate and be like, okay, like you said, like, hey, you're not crazy. You're not, it's
Mhm.
normal to feel this way, or it's normal to have this disagreement. You just feel so less alone. And it really
Yeah.
helps build up your own confidence for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm constantly telling other moms, like, I mean, we live with wackadoos, like 18, 0 to 18, no matter what stage, like
Mm-hmm.
they're just a little bonkers.
Yeah.
Love them, but
Love
like
them.
they require so much creative energy to know how best to parent them. What works for the first won't work for the second, third, fourth. It's really maddening. And when you don't have anyone to kind of offload some of those experiences onto, who like truly understands, at a level that, some friends may not be able to, or other people, family members in your life won't be able to, it does a lot to just kind of like keep you going
Yeah. I
and
know.
showing up well.
I was just telling my son the other day, he's turning 15 like this week. And I was like, hey, I've never been the parent of a teenager before. So like we're just kind of learning as we go along
Mhm.
here. But it is nice to reach out to other moms and be like, okay, help me. Just listen.
Mhm.
Just listen, right?
Yeah.
Well, how can we, we're big on habits around here, and I feel like connection and building a village is such a high form of self-care for yourself and such an important aspect of our own mindset and just fulfilling that craving for community. What are some habits that we can do to seek out new friends, but also taking a step from there, Emily? And what are some habits we can do to make sure we are keeping those connections? Because I think a lot of times we do get so busy in our own lives. We're like, okay, I made this new friend in a running group because that was something I was interested in. But then you have to hold up your end of the bargain and foster the relationship too. So it's kind of a two-part question. But what are some habits we can
Yeah.
do to seek out friends and then continue that relationship?
Yeah. I would say, so there's a few logistical ones that I think could be like really helpful. The first is probably one you talk about a lot, which is like choose one thing to focus on. Um, you know, to me, what often feels the hardest about friendship is just, it feels like you're like this huge thing you're about to take on, probably similar to a health journey of like, whoa, this thing is huge. How am I going to go from feeling really lonely to like the best circle of friends? And so kind of deciding, getting clear on, okay, what am I craving most in friendship? Like, what are my preferences for connection? And just being honest with yourself about that and your capacity. That's not just time, but also your energy that you have to devote to it. And so once you're kind of clear on that, you could decide, okay, one of the moms in our community, she decided this year, she was like, once a month, I am going to go to dinner with a friend, no kids. And so that is kind of like her one thing that she's focusing on. It feels really manageable for her season of life to fulfill. Other moms, when they've just moved, their one thing will be like, okay, I'm going to show up to, like you said, like that running group. Especially I just have to say, when you're on the hunt for new friends and you feel like you've got no one because you've just moved or you're just kind of getting started, it can feel like, oh my gosh, everywhere I show up, I have to be like open and my best self and, say all the right things. And I think that is really terrifying. And so I encourage you to think of one place where you will like get your mind ready to go in and be open. And so like, no, you don't have to go to the grocery store being open to find friends everywhere. You don't have to do pickup and drop offs like with a zinger in mind, but maybe once a week when you go to this running club, you go in like prepared to talk and put yourself out there. And you're only doing that one time a week. You're not requiring that of yourself all the time. So that kind of choosing one can look a little different with that, but I think that is a great place to start. So I'll pause there. I would love to share two more for logistics, but I don't know if you have anything you'd add to that one thing either.
No, I love that. Yeah. And I, like you said, going into it being like, okay, like when I was joining this running club, like I was getting up like at 4:30 in the morning to like, I was not my best self at 4:30
Yeah.
in the morning to go run. And I wasn't like a fast runner. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are they going to judge me because I'm not running very fast? And it was the right kind of community for me to join because I knew what I needed. And I was like, these type of people are probably like my kind of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't knit. Like I'm not going to go join a knitting club because I'm like, these probably aren't going to be my people. So I had that in the forefront of my mind. And, you know, we had a rule, like you never leave someone behind. So we always like ran together in different pods or whatever. And then the best part of it was having coffee afterwards. That was the big thing, was like sitting down and having, even if it was just like 2 minutes, and you even didn't get coffee, we just sat down for 2 minutes. So that was great.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. You know, that's a good example of this playing out is, you know, 2 years ago, I was doing like a 5 a.m. morning boot camp situation. And those are technically my people. But at the time I was like maxed out capacity wise. And so I actually gave myself permission to just like stay in my own zone during boot camp. I didn't like stress out about like talking to people. If it worked out, I did, but I ultimately didn't find my people there, but I'm confident that is all because of the attitude I brought to that situation. And that was okay. That was the permission I gave myself. And another, you know, time of my life that could like, I could have like found some best friends there, but I was like maxed out at the time. So that's what I really love about like being so intentional about like, yeah, I'm going to go to all these places. Doesn't mean I'm always going to be on. I think we all fear we sometimes always have to be on. But yeah, two of the other habits I would say like just super tangible for particularly for busy moms is double dipping. So like what you did by joining a running club, like, okay, you get your fitness in and you get friendship in. So like what opportunities in your life do you have to double dip? Like maybe it's running errands together. Maybe it's, you know, dinners together. Sometimes you need these to be more established friendships for that kind of thing. But like once you have an established friendship, absolutely double dip. She will get it. Like she'll totally get it. And then the other is, maybe the mom who's doing the dinner once a month with friends. She actually is rotating friends, but if let's say there's one friend you're trying to do something with consistently, you either set it one time, like, okay, it's the first Monday of every month, or you schedule the next one when you're together. To just kind of like keep those, like, it's just that habit of, okay, we put it on the calendar. It's much easier to reschedule something than schedule it.
Yes.
Like, it's much easier to move it.
You're exactly right. And we have one friend in our group. She's like the big, like, connector. She's always like, let's go do this. Let's schedule that. And I'm really grateful for that. And I feel like a lot of us are trying to be more intentional to do that as well. Cause she's the one always putting out the effort to or like, it'll be a while and be like, man, we all haven't like hung out together in a long time. Let's just come over, like wear like your sweats and we're just going to like hang out. Like nothing even planned. And it's been really great just to be able to do that, because you do get so busy and you have to be intentional with fostering those relationships. Like you said, schedule it now. That way it's going to happen, or you can reschedule it if you have to.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that so much. Well, I could talk about friendship forever and ever. Like I said, I had to really go about seeking out intentional friendships because I was at a point in my life where I was just so deep in the trenches with my kids and work, where I wasn't making my friends or friends in general a priority. Or I had friends, but it was just kind of surface level friends where we weren't like doing life together. And I feel like now I have a group of girls where we are doing life together. And I hope everyone kind of takes the tips you gave us today, Emily, and goes and seeks out those friends that they can do life together with too.
Yeah, I hope that too. I always say, like, no matter, it's like never too late to start. So,
yeah. Well, where can everyone connect with you and find out more?
Yeah. So, theconnectedmomlife.com is my website. It's where you'll find all the information on, I also have a podcast, a community of moms who are essentially seeking out more meaningful in real life friendships. And we have found it's really fun to do that with kind of a whole group cheering you on through some of the ups and downs and all the feelings that often come along for the ride. So you can find all about all that there. And then I mostly hang out on Instagram at the Connected Mom Life as well.
It's great, Emily. Well, I'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes. And I'm so excited I got to connect with you today, my friend.
Yeah, same. Thanks for having me.
Emily, thank you so much for this important conversation and just really reinforcing to all the ladies listening and even to me personally how important and vital friendships are in our lives. Doing life with others who are in similar shoes as you helps you feel not so alone. This is a fundamental need. We need to work on more, ladies. I get it. We're so busy, but Emily provided such great habits, didn't she? Let's break down my 3 biggest takeaways. So number 1, every 7 years, we cycle through friends. I think this is really important to know. I feel like there's other areas, right? Like every 7 years, your career changes or something, big changes happen in your life. And friendship can be happening at that same time. You know, we have shifting identities and motherhood. Who I was as a mother when my kids were babies and toddlers is totally different now as a preteen and a teenage mom. I still can't believe that. Ugh, my husband looks at us sometimes like, are we really this old to have kids at this age? Yes, we are. I love it though. Different stage though. And we have different friends for different seasons of your life. So how do we navigate these shifting relationships? I mean, sometimes friendships just don't last forever. And it's not due to like usually a big falling out or, you know, causing pain to others. It's just natural. Right? Sometimes there's actual physical shifts, like you move away. Be mindful that maybe it's a shift in your season of life. Maybe you have a new job. Maybe your schedule changes. Maybe there's something going on with your kids that changes everything for you. I feel like every season of my life is really shifting based on as my kids get older, especially. I want you to be mindful that it is okay and that it's natural for friends to shift throughout your life. Kind of like Emily mentioned, right? It's not like you get married and you're married to that friend the rest of your life, right? You'd like to think so, right? But it's okay. It's natural for friendships to shift and be open to that. And let's not be so hard on ourselves as friendships change. Next, it doesn't have to be hard or weird or like super awkward making new friends. I know it can be, hence the title of this episode, right? So how not to be awkward. Emily provided some really great habits here. The first one was just to name what feels weird. You know, is it the fear of rejection? Are you overwhelmed? You're like, oh, I just got no time to even like make friends, or you don't know what to say, right? You might find yourself feeling all these feelings. And like Emily mentioned, choose just one to focus on and then find people to meet you where you're at, right? Like I said, I wasn't the best version of myself meeting folks like at 5 a.m. in the morning to run, but they were meeting me where I was at. I was meeting them where they were at. And just once a week, be prepared to talk and put yourself out there. That feels less overwhelming than like, I have to be on all the time. I try to be really mindful personally of asking people more questions about them. I think that's just the podcast host, interviewer in me. I'm always really curious and want to get to know other people. But I learned years ago, early on in my career, someone gave me this advice and told me, you know, hey, everyone's favorite subject is themselves. You'll have actually more meaningful conversations when it's not just you just blah 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 about yourself, but asking them questions, finding places where you can relate. It is okay to relate to them with your own stories, but the more you ask questions, I think the more you're able to foster that relationship, okay? And you're going to feel less alone and build up your confidence that you know that, okay, other people are going through the trenches with me. Like this feels good. This feels good. And that leads me into my third takeaway is how to foster relationships. I love the double dip, like Emily talked about, right? Fitness and friendship is my favorite, right? She also suggests, you know, maybe you could go run errands together, depending on where you are in that friendship, or just working together at Starbucks. I've had a lot of meet and work dates with girlfriends who work from home like I do, where we just met at Starbucks and brought our laptops, got some coffee, and banged out some work together while hanging out, right? We didn't even have to say that much. It was just nice being together and doing life together. Okay, this is just not surface level friendships. These are women that are doing life with you. Like I mentioned, they're in the trenches with you, and it's never too late to start creating friendships and connections for this season of life that you are in and beyond. Just be open to it, be intentional about it, and create habits where you're going to be able to foster relationships, make new connections, and transform. Right? That's the whole point. We're going to transform the way we feel about making friends. So does it not feel so awkward now? It doesn't have to be. So I challenge you to go out and make a habit of this. Emily, thank you so much for coming on the show, chatting with us. This was a really important conversation, friends. I have everything linked in the show notes so you can connect with Emily and listen to her podcast as well. Friends, I love this community. I love being connected to you, my fun habit hackers. If I can help you in any way, there's always a bunch of links in the show notes. And again, I'm so blown away by the support of all of y'all voting for me to become a HOTWORX virtual instructor. Everything's linked in the show notes. If you feel inclined to vote, I would so appreciate it. Okay, my friends, I'll check in with you later this week for Habit Hack Thursday. Hey girl, real quick before you go, did you know I have a secret podcast where I talk all about why most habit strategies don't work for us women? Spoiler alert, it's not our fault. Visit bit.ly/atomic habits for women. It's linked in the show notes to access my secret podcast series and have your biggest aha moment about why and how women have to do habits differently. And if you love the podcast, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way more mamas can find the show. Love and appreciate you, friend. We'll see you next time.